YouTube world. Today we have special guest Paul Canoe. I hope I'm pronouncing the last name correctly.
It's okay. It doesn't matter.
Okay. I was
Some
trying to
people
get this.
say some
Mhm.
people say canoe, some people say canoe. I'm just like, it is what it
No,
is.
it's your name. It's powerful, man. You tell me how to say it. I'll say it. That's it.
I like it as canoe, just
Canoe.
because it just makes it easier for me to kind of say can you lift instead of like canoe lift doesn't sound right.
Ah,
You know what I mean?
I like that. Oh, no, no, no. That's perfect. Now I can visualize it so I know to say it properly. So once again, we have
Yes.
Paul Canoe on the show. Thanks for taking the time. I know you're a busy man. First off, congratulations. I know you have a newborn. But to the people who don't really know who is Paul, why don't you introduce yourself and tell the world who you are?
Yeah. So obviously, my name's Paul. I was born in West Africa and I moved to the US in 2021. Sorry, in 2001, mainly because my mom wanted me to have a much more better opportunity here. So she worked really hard to get here. So the first 2 years was like a bit of a struggle just to kind of like get the ball rolling.
Hmm.
But eventually, as I got into like school in US, I got into lifting in 2010, and then from there on everything is just like kind of like take like a crazy weird turn because I got into lifting to look like an anime character, and then from
Ah,
that point on I was just like, okay, I kind of like this is fun. If I'm being honest,
mhm.
the first time I really got into training was when I had my very first pump.
Really?
Yeah, it was
And how
very
was that? Yeah.
euphoric.
Mhm.
It was
Okay.
extremely euphoric. It felt like nothing I've ever felt before, obviously. But then since then, I've just gotten into lifting, got more into it, got into competing. I even got to the point where like I'm making a career off of it. So it's kind of funny how like that one little thing just sort of
Right.
just spiraled everywhere. Um, and when it comes to like coaching and stuff like that, I like to
Mhm.
preach a little bit more of like a balanced approach because I've noticed over the years not many people want to do that balanced and because it does take a little bit longer to be like the best athlete you can if you're having to balance life, balance
Right.
relationship, balance in bodybuilding. And over the years I've seen a lot of people just kind of hop into bodybuilding and just be
Right.
like, balance, what's that? Forget that. So that's
Mhm.
kind of always been my main focus. And
Okay.
then it's the approach that I use towards competitive bodybuilding as well, because I'm not one that's extreme by any
Right.
means. So I like taking that slower, longer, balanced approach to get me where I'm at. And eventually, it took about 10 years or so to get to the Olympia. And just by doing that, so it's not like, oh, I'm gonna be at the Olympia in like 5 years or
Hmm.
whatever. And I love that approach. So that kind of got me where I needed to be, and I'm very happy for that. And then it
Right.
landed me into this podcast. This is
Well,
where I'm at.
back to my point. A lot of people think that you come on the scene, you start training, working hard, and I'll get my pro card and become the Olympia. And it's like the process is not that easy, my friend.
Mm,
And I was telling people like how I got into it. I never wanted to be a bodybuilder. I never had any aspirations. I played pro soccer. I was a skinny kid, a buck 40 in high school. And how I got into it, I got dared to do a competition. And before I
mm,
know it, stepped on stage, I was just like, okay, I want to back out. And what I mean back out was basically I was the night up. I'm like, I don't like how I look. I said to my coach, this is not for me. I'm gonna do very poorly. Like I was really nervous. He goes, just go to sleep, and if you don't want to do it in the morning, no problem. So to touch upon that, I woke up around 5 o'clock and I went to the washroom, and my body was just like, oh my gosh, look, this is crazy. So I called him, and he comes running down the hallway, panicking, thinking something is wrong. He's like, what's wrong? I'm like, look at me. So that's I did the show. It was 2013.
mm.
I end up didn't know about tanning. I used baby oil. No duty intended, but I used
I
baby
did
oil.
too. I did the exact same thing.
Right. So and I ended up winning. So I the euphoric about it was after the show, a little kid had come up to me and goes, I want to be just like you. I'm like, no, no, you want to go to school, be a lawyer, don't want to be like me. This is more just, fun for me. Education is important. And the mother looked at me like in the background, like, thank you for saying that. Gave
Mm.
him my medal. And to see the look on his face, I said, I think I can change people's lives. Like this is what people want to see. This is inspirational. So I got the little bodybuilding itch. So that's how I got into it.
Yeah. Fun fact,
Hmm.
most of the medals that I do get from competitive bodybuilding,
Hmm.
I don't even have.
Yeah,
I just like either give them away to friends, family, and
right.
I'm just like, I don't care. Cause like for me, it's like the experience of being there and doing
Hmm.
all the entirety of like the process to get there. That's
Right.
kind of what matters the most to me. The medals are like cool, but I'm like, I don't need this.
No, of course. And not, I'm just going to be very transparent and honest. How I got to like, when I got more into the years of bodybuilding and I came across, I think it was your page a few years ago, and I said to my coach, I want to look like that. And I'm a lot
Mm,
older. And I'm 52.
yeah.
So I'm an old soul, but a young blood. And when Classic came out, I'm like, Classic, because I don't look at myself as a bodybuilder. I can't, I'll never say I'm a bodybuilder, just person building a better body. But I've been
Mm,
following you, and I'm like, just your aura and your presence, and you're very transparent. Like when you speak, you can see that you speak from the hip, you shoot from the hip. You don't portray some big guru or amazing. You're just Paul. And what the reason why I call this podcast the mindset is because I'm like, there's a story behind this, and I want to see what he's about. I see you traveling and talking, and you're well knowledged in regards to your field. So that's why I was drawn to you, and I've been watching you. And when you qualified, I think it was you won the muscle contest, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah, the one in Austria in
Austria.
2024.
Yes. And I was just like, I was so excited. I was just like, wow, this guy did it. And I'm not saying, well, he can do it, I can do it, because I wasn't comparing myself. Because I look at
Yeah.
your structure, I'm just like, yeah, that's a structure that I like, and I was very happy and excited. So I just want to say congrats. But we'll dive into that. Let's take a little step back. So basically, like, who were your biggest mentors in bodybuilding? Like, what lessons from them did shape you or to your approach now as being a competitor and a coach?
You know, the funny thing is, I don't have any like big, grandiose bodybuilding mentors
Right.
or anyone that I looked up to per se.
Hmm.
It was actually people who didn't have the genetic structure that I did that I
Oh.
actually listened to more frequently than some pro bodybuilder because these
Hmm.
people they may have just started lifting but may not have like the genetic propensity to get bigger, stronger, leaner, or build the physique that they want, but they did work pretty hard and try to figure out like many ways to do things.
Right.
So I learned a lot from what they did,
Hmm.
and over the years, I sort of just like always ask questions. Ask questions towards people who weren't really like professional bodybuilders.
Right.
They were just like
Okay.
regular people who were just trying to improve themselves.
Hmm.
And then as time passed, I started learning on my own. But the
Okay.
general groundwork for what got me into like building the physique and what helped me more was just my friends who didn't look like they looked.
Gotcha. No, no, no. I like that approach. Okay, makes sense.
And I learned a little bit more over the years, and I got more knowledge just from like reading stuff online. I
Hmm.
would say one of the individuals that I spent a lot of time learning from, just
Hmm.
from online, was Lyle McDonald.
Okay.
Um, Lyle is a very smart individual. He's
Hmm.
probably one of the individuals that probably like propelled the scientific evidence-based community
Right.
further back in the early 2000s.
Okay.
And a lot of people nowadays, even those top fitness gurus, were always on Lyle McDonald's body recomposition website,
Hmm.
learning a lot. So,
Hmm.
like, I learned most of my training knowledge from Lyle
Okay.
way back in like 2010. Um,
Okay.
as for like bodybuilder wise
Hmm.
individuals, I I don't have any because my goal was always just to be or create the best version of my physique. And
Nice.
I think if I'm trying to mimic someone's training or like do what they do,
Hmm.
it takes away the opportunity for me to really like improve my own physique the way that I want through the vision that I want to create for myself.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So that leads me to my next question. You know, the philosophy, everybody's, I guess, the scientific approach or terminology, gurus.
Mm.
In your training philosophy and or the extremes, would you see some pros more push and pull their body workouts, or is it just to go to the absolute extreme training moment, or what have you witnessed that's worked best for you, or is there a balance?
Um, I've gone through, you know, I've never done the push really, really hard
Okay.
extreme in terms of bodybuilding, because I had to manage different aspect of my life. So I didn't have the opportunity to just go balls in all deep, like
Mm-hmm.
bodybuilding is what I do kind of thing.
Right.
So like most of the times, like I would work very long hours when I was in my early 20s,
Okay.
and I would have to manage like working 2 to 3 jobs and then trying to manage training and then trying to sleep.
Ooh. Okay.
So there were times where certain things need to pull back because at an earlier age I learned like if I'm just consistent at doing what I'm doing,
Mm-hmm.
eventually I'm gonna get the progress that I need. But if
Right.
I'm not consistent, I'm like inconsistent. Let's say if I was working like 2 to 3 jobs and I only train like once a week, there's not going to be much progress happening. But if I can kind of make it where I can do like 2, 3, maybe 4 times a week of
Mm-hmm.
training instead of like 5 or 6, I'll have enough time to recover, which is the pull and back approach that will let me recover and build tissue, allow me to sleep, and then the
Mm-hmm.
rest just train. But then
Right.
that push is basically going to the gym for like maybe an hour and a half, and then
Okay.
pulling back out of the gym because, as we know, most of the time, a lot of the recovery process, a lot of the growth process happens when you're away from
Outside.
the gym. So,
Exactly.
using that opportunity to recover
Mm-hmm.
while managing every other aspect of my life was
Right.
what really mattered the most. So like I did mainly like 4 days a week of training, and
Okay.
the rest was just like I got work to do. I got
Exactly.
other
So
stuff
you
to
found a
worry
happy
about.
balance. Okay.
Yeah.
It's because I notice now, I won't say this generation, but I've noticed as times change, a lot of people, or the ones I've coached, their number one excuse is I don't have the time. Like it's very hard. And then I'm like, well, the mindset is either you want it or you don't. Where there's a will,
Mm.
there's a way. How do you respond to your clients that you coach when they say, I just don't have the time to get to the gym, or I can't eat this meal right now? What's your approach? How do you handle that?
I adjusted to what they can do rather
Good.
than having like a very high level bodybuilding mentality where it's like, oh man, if you can't do this, you're not really up to do this as
Mm-hmm.
you said that you are. So I try to like again balance everything out so where it still works out. I think last week
Mm-hmm.
I had a client who's like a manager, owns like 2 to 3 different stores that he works at,
Right.
and he doesn't have the time to train. So I sat down with him and I told him, hey man, let's just train full body
Mm-hmm.
twice a week. So this way you have a little bit of flexibility to go to the gym and train rather than trying to
Right.
jam pack 4to 5 sessions when
Right.
you know you can't. And that will kind of mess up your sleep schedule, mess up your life, and you're trying to like put everything in at the same time. So let's just do twice a week of training. Now you
Mm-hmm.
can kind of, if you miss one day, hey,
Mm-hmm.
there's another day you can just train. You still have like 5 to 7 days to kind of move things around and be
Right.
very flexible with everything. And then I had to like tweak his diet a little bit as well to
Mm-hmm.
the point where it's like, okay, he's like, I'm not able to eat as much as I do. I don't have the time to eat. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
cool. Let's manage this. Let's just focus on the protein intake. And then whatever you can eat for carbs, that's fine. If you need to eat, if you need to fast, that's completely fine. But as long as like we're staying consistent with the protein intake, we'll kind of get to the goal that we need to. He's a
Right.
fat loss client. So like
Mm-hmm.
him fasting in a way with higher protein intake will probably pull that weight down while training twice a week and then
Right.
spending time in recovery as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So I often have to like pull myself out of like bodybuilding mentality
Mm-hmm.
when
Mm-hmm.
dealing with clients because I know like the amount of discipline and effort that I have is completely entirely up to what I've cultivated over the years
Right.
and what I've learned. So I'm not going to try to force that into somebody who doesn't
Mm-hmm.
have that just yet. So I want to cultivate that towards them so
Mm-hmm.
that way they understand what it's like over time. And then if they get to the point where they can do like 4 or 5 days of a week of training,
Mm-hmm.
then we got there. But at least we were able to manage as we go along. We were able to add days, improve on certain things,
Right.
increase the amount of habits that we needed to
Okay.
work on to
Mm-hmm.
get to that point rather than just like, hey, if you can't do it, you can't do it, man. Sorry, you're not meant to do, you're not cut out to do this. I think that's a horrible way to treat people, especially if they're like
Agreed.
paying a
Mm-hmm.
good amount of money
Mm-hmm.
just for them to see progress. You got to work with them.
And that's what inspires me and what I like about your approach. And I can tell from your scenarios when you put a post or whatnot, you can tell that you don't just dictate, you give an explanation, but you always find that rhyme to reason. And I think
Mm.
it's very beneficial in this time of days where a lot of coaches will just say that hard bodied building mentality,
Yeah.
do it this way hardcore, and it's not for everybody. This sport
Mm.
is not for everybody. It has its pros and cons, but you have to understand they're paying for a service. You have to educate, appreciate, rather than
Mm.
just dictate and do my way. So that's why
Yeah.
I like that approach.
I've
So
also
go on.
worked like many years in customer service, so I know
Okay,
how to
so
deal
you
with
can see.
people
Okay,
when it
that
comes
makes
to that
sense
kind of
now.
stuff.
You see that it comes into play now. I can see it makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, so let's say this now. What would the old Paul,
Mm.
his first show ever stepping on stage, compare to the first time stepping on the Olympia stage? Nerves?
Um, the old Paul stepping on stage for the very first time, which was 2013.
Okay,
It was like, you put baby oil, you try to prep for like 4 to 5 weeks, just be like,
right.
oh, you're gonna win and everything.
Hmm.
I didn't really know what I was doing. But I
Me too.
usually don't count that because that was just like a year where like I didn't know what I was doing and I prepped for like 4 or 5 weeks. But
Okay.
then in 2016, after that first show, I kind of understood what it meant to like be competitive. So I
Hmm.
did take that 3 years off and then
Good.
competed in 2016, where the experience was a little different.
Right.
Stepping on stage, seeing everyone in the audience kind of just like rooting, yelling, screaming for you
Hmm.
as you're the only person on that stage when you do like your presentation and stuff like that.
Right.
That was like a very euphoric feeling. I think it's also the feeling that I chased for many years,
Okay.
getting into the point where like I won my pro card because it just felt so good. You see like so many people, like hundreds of people in the audience just
Hmm.
cheering for you only, and it's really a great experience. But like as time goes on, competing, I started competing for like many different reasons, sort of just
Okay.
like wanting to improve. So like that feeling of being on stage sort of kind of like got dulled down. It
Right.
didn't feel
Okay.
like as much as the very first time. It was just like, okay, this is just a process. Whatever happens, happens.
Right.
Now, getting to the Olympia, there wasn't really that exact same feeling as the show in 2016. It
Okay.
was just very like nonchalant, like I'm here, I'm here, gonna
Oh.
see how this thing goes, enjoy it. I think stage wise, it
Hmm.
was very nonchalant, but like during that meet the athletes greeting
Hmm. Hmm.
part, I was sitting with my coach and I was
Okay.
like telling him like this is a pretty good experience to be able to sit here, see
Take
all
it
these
in.
people, getting everything in. I was
Right.
literally crying to my coach because it
Mm.
was one of those things where it's like you made it to this point
It's amazing.
where
Yeah.
like everyone's here, you have like this big audience of people just coming up to you, greeting you and saying hi and stuff like that. So
Right.
that was probably more emotional than
Okay.
being on stage, if that makes sense.
No, it makes sense. Well, like I said, people need to understand, like, you've made hit. This is history. Getting to the
Yeah.
Olympia is history, and
Mm.
how you're approaching, how you take it in is very, like the word you use, nonchalant. You just took it in and let it go by, which is phenomenal. Apologize for that.
You good?
Phenomenal. Where some people like their first show, like I was a nervous wreck. I
Yeah.
I wanted to quit. I tried every possible way to quit, to pull out, and at the time, my girlfriend's like, we drove 6.5 hours, and you want to not do the show? Oh, you're doing the show.
Yeah.
So that was kind of pressure there, but it was. I'm glad that I did, because if I didn't, I don't think I ever would be in the position I am now competing.
Agree.
So, so that's a good point. And back to your point, when you got your pro card, was it Teen Universe, or I'm not sure if I'm the right
Yep.
verbiage?
It
Okay.
was Team U. Uh-huh.
And when you won your pro card, tell me the experience. How did that feel? Like I can tell already it was probably nonchalant, but deep down, Paul, what did you really feel, and what did you say? Like what happened in your world?
So 2 to 3 weeks out
Hmm.
from my competition before winning my pro card at the universe in 2020,
Hmm.
my apartment burned down.
What? Oh my goodness.
So like my apartment caught on fire. I didn't really have much. I didn't really have like a place or anywhere to stay. Sleep was probably like 2 to 3 hours
I
at
can
most.
imagine. If the
I
yeah.
was, yeah, I was like driving to work back. I was driving to New Jersey to work because it was COVID during that time. So everything was like no gyms or anything were open.
Right.
Work was very difficult. I would drive to work, wake up at like 2 o'clock in the morning, um, drive an hour because I have work starts at like 5. Drive
Hmm.
an hour, start training at possibly like 3:30, and then get done at 4:30 to start working as a personal trainer in New
Mm.
Jersey. So I would do that back and forth while potentially sleeping in my car.
Okay. Oh wow. A lot of obstacles.
Because I didn't have my apartment or anything
Right.
like that, and then I would like buy food from like Walmart, which is like the whole like the chicken that they have at Walmart where like it's in like the little box
Plastic.
thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would like eat
Hmm.
that, heat it up, heat it cold and everything. And I would just do that for like 2 to 3 weeks going into the show. I would still go to the gym, still train and everything. And then my weight was going up because of all the amount of stress and
Cortisol.
inflammation that
Yeah.
was happening during that time. So I went up like 20 pounds because I was
Oh.
I was kind of where I needed to be for like 2 to 3 weeks out, but then like I went up
Okay.
like 20 pounds.
Right.
So going into the universe was a little bit like nerve-wracking because of how difficult it was,
Hmm.
and weight shooting up, stress going up pretty high. I end up having to like starve myself for like 3 to 4 days with like no water, no
Ooh.
food, or classic weight cap at like I think for my
Yeah.
height it was like
82.
182 or something.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So I came down all the way to like 176
Whew.
from like 190. 95.
Wow.
So
Okay.
it was very nerve-wracking,
Hmm.
and I had my wife there, who was my girlfriend at the time.
Hmm.
We were dating. She was the one that supported me throughout the entire process. She drove
Nice.
my friend and I all the way through. I think it was South Carolina during that time.
Okay. Okay.
And she saw what I looked like, and I felt like death, man. I felt like
I can
death.
imagine. Hmm.
That was such an interesting experience, but like getting ready for the show, I obviously wasn't feeling well, wasn't feeling good. I got some
Okay.
food in after I made weight, like a
Right.
day or two or whatever,
Oh, right.
carb
Okay.
loaded.
Hmm.
I end up being on stage at like 180, 177, 178.
Okay.
Um, and I won my pro card. I think that was like the second time where like I had like a really good emotional feeling towards it,
Nice.
because
Okay.
winning your pro card after going through all that
I can
process
imagine what the feeling.
and beating like 33 people
Because
while
your class was
going
big.
through
Yeah,
all
I remember seeing that.
that was so ridiculous to me. I could never forget that.
Hmm.
Um, but like when they like called me, it was like they
Hmm.
said like Paul Canoe for like first place for Class B. I was like,
What?
what? I was like, what?
Right, right.
um, and then like I got down, talked to my girlfriend at the
Hmm.
time, and my friend were there.
Hmm.
I, it was I didn't have much of a feeling towards it
Okay,
because
okay.
I was much more like on a survival mode, you know. So like there wasn't like,
Gotcha.
oh, I worked really hard to get here, everything's great, but I was like,
You were
oh
just
shoot, my
surviving.
apartment's
Yeah.
burned down. I've been
Wow.
eating, I've been driving, and I'm having like no sleep here and there. Like,
Okay.
okay, I guess I won my pro card. Cool.
Well, that's an amazing accomplishment because I know I can't say for everybody, but most people probably would have said, "How losing your place to stay and call it hanging up," and you prevailed. You stuck it out. So that's a huge accomplishment. That's amazing. Like wow, I never knew
Yeah,
that.
it was like one of those moments where it's just like you do whatever it needs to be done
Right. Okay.
just to be able to get where you need to go. I think that was the very first one where like I realized how much effort it took,
Hmm.
not just for bodybuilding, but just wanting something really, really bad. Like you're willing to just push really hard and just do
Hmm.
whatever needed
Hmm.
just
Hmm.
because you want that end result. And it was it was nice after the pro win. It definitely changed a good portion of my life.
Oh, definitely.
Um,
Okay, I can imagine.
yeah, but I didn't really have much of a feeling towards it because there was just so much going on at the time.
Right. Well, it's what they say, you know, when you get to that pinnacle of becoming a champion, most champions go through trials and tribulations, and you went through a trial and tribulation which prevailed. So kudos to that.
Yeah.
Wow, like most would have just pulled out, which leads me to my next question because as I was watching the Olympia, I was nervous, probably more than you were,
Mm.
because I'm just like, that's Olympia. I don't know what I would do. And when I seen you walk out, you were in a class, you were standing beside Breon Ainsley. How was that? Yeah, I think you're in the same class when you guys got called out.
Maybe.
Yeah,
Maybe for comparison, the Olympia was such a blank.
really? Okay.
Like, it was such a blank.
You just took it
I,
all in and just went through the
I just like
motion. Yeah.
I just like kind of like cut it all off completely, and I just went on stage and just did whatever. I don't remember half of the stuff that happened. I mean, I do, but it wasn't like anything where it's like, oh, I'm next to I've been next to Breon before, in
Oh, okay.
Dubai
See
Pro.
that's okay. Well, we'll
Yeah.
get to that story. It's funny you say that. I went to do the buy pro later on.
Mm.
I shit the bed, but the reason why I did it, like I
Yeah.
said before, not comparing myself to you, I was
Mm.
just drawn to your story, and now knowing that you started your first show in 2013, so did I. You got your
Yeah.
pro card during COVID, so did I. I'm just like, but you're here and I'm here. We're not on that level, but you got to Olympia, and I said Dubai Pro. That's a show I love to do.
Yeah.
So that experience, would you say you were probably more not nervous, but more aware, alert than the Olympia because that's a big show. That's a big show.
Um, I'm a very nonchalant person. I'm like
Really?
very, very like boring in many ways.
You're not boring.
Like,
You're just cool, calm, and collective. No, that's cool. That's fine.
yeah, like so with the Dubai Pro, I was just pretty chill. I was just
Yeah.
like, I'm here, you know. But I think the Dubai Pro definitely left a little bit of like uneasiness
Okay.
because one of the things that I wanted to be next to Brian. I wanted to
Mm.
like stood like next to Brian. So when I got like the call outs, which was like I think it was like 13th or 14th place is what I got.
Hmm.
Um, I was the one of the very few times I was like very devastated,
Okay.
and because I really wanted to see how I stacked up with like some of the top Olympians,
Right.
and it devastated me because I didn't even made the top two or three call outs.
Hmm.
So I was
Hmm.
just in my head like, ah man, this sucks. I didn't make it. And
Right.
I think that would be like the turning point of what drove me to just be like, you know what? I'm tired. I am sick of this.
Right.
I just want to just really just put more effort in.
Right.
And then from that Dubai Pro, I qualified for the Olympia right after that same year.
That's like I said, it's challenges or experiences like that where you sit down and you check yourself. Am I really cut out for this? Which I've
Mm,
always said personally by looking at you and not really know who you are, I'm like, he's got a good shape physique. This guy could be at Olympia stage one day. And when you won the muscle contest, I kid you not, I was excited. I was jumping around. I was like, oh my gosh, you did it. Just because, like I said, that's a physique. I look at it, I was like, if I can obtain something like that similar, I'd be happy. Mind
mm,
you, I never did, but just following you and watching your posts, your feeds, I'm like, this guy's a cool dude. He's so like carefree. I go, I need to know who this guy is. How can I get so cool, calm, and collective like that? And that's an amazing thing. You can't teach that. That's
yeah.
just who you are, and that's why. So when I was watching the Olympia, back to my question, and I seen you walk over the Brian, I'm like, damn, he's holding his own.
Mm.
And like I said, it's probably was a blur. Everything was happening, but kudos to that. So I was just saying, knowing something like that, would you say your diet, your phases, was there anything, you have little secret tips you don't have to reveal, but as you're preparing with your foods, anything drastic that you change, or what were your meals like preparing up to Olympia a couple weeks out?
There's a reason why I never talk about like dieting,
Okay.
because whenever I do, it just feels and sounds so outlandish to people that they're just like,
Mm,
"Oh, what?" Um,
mm,
eh, like so, leading up to like the prep for the Olympia,
mm-hmm.
I was having a little bit more flexibility with my diet, but
Okay.
in my opinion, I think the goal is to be in a deficit, right?
Gotcha.
So if the goal is to be in a deficit, you just eat the same foods or foods that you enjoy, you
Mm-hmm.
know,
Mm-hmm.
but just less of it.
Makes
But
sense.
as you continuously get deeper and deeper into the prep and you're on track with your caloric deficit,
Hmm.
you'll get leaner, obviously, because the main
Right.
goal is a caloric surplus,
Hmm.
calories in, food that you eat, and then
Hmm.
calories out, you move in. There's PEDs, there's
Hmm.
fat burners and everything to kind of drive those caloric intake out.
Right.
That will just still get you leaner and leaner over time. But then the crucial moment is like the last 4 to 6 weeks when
Hmm.
you've really pulled down everything. You're like pretty lean, you're pretty shredded, your calories are a little bit lower than usual. You don't have
Hmm.
any flexibility, to just move things around. You're
Right.
just stuck with just eating like
Same thing.
brand plain same thing over and over again for 6 weeks
Hmm.
because the calories are so low you don't have room to be flexible with anything, so you're just stuck with either like chicken, rice, and veggies for like the
Hmm.
next 6 weeks. But like I can do that for 4 to 6 weeks as
Okay.
long as I'm driving this caloric intake down and down, but I
Okay.
can't do it for like 20 straight weeks, man.
That's
i
I know
i
how
just
people do it.
can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just can't. So, but I know it's like, oh, it's only for 4 to 6 weeks. Okay, I'll just
Hmm.
eat the same thing for 4 to 6 weeks and not
Hmm.
deviate from it. So that's kind of what my
Hmm.
diet was. Just like it was a lot of flexibility at the start, but then as it gets closer towards the tail end of everything, the flexibility kind of went away and became a little bit more strict.
Gotcha. And like I said, the sport is not for everybody. Like you have to be understanding that you're eating the same thing. Or you have some clients that say, "Well, my coach never changed my diet for 2 weeks or 3 weeks. I never got a refeed or a cheat meal." And it's like, do you really understand the process? Which many of them don't. Like back in the days with, I've heard guys were on diet for like 17, 18 weeks. I'm like, how do you do the same food for that long? I could never do that.
I could never do that.
Like,
I just can't.
yeah, times have changed, food has changed. So what? Um, PEDs has changed. So that was lead me to my next question. If you feel free to answer it, what's your thoughts on the performance PEDs? Are they being abused in a way? Because a lot of people have been passing and they want to blame it on steroids. Me personally, I don't blame it on the steroids because we don't know what they're doing recreational outside with
Mhm.
the anabolics. But what's your take on that?
I think when we think about like PEDs, we have to kind of like move away from it being it is a cause. It's
Hmm.
100% a cause.
Hmm.
But as a competitive bodybuilder, there's a lot of stress on the body
Yeah.
overall in
Right.
terms of mental stress, in terms of like what else is there? Trying to remember. Uh Give me a second. I'm
No
trying to think
worries.
of it. There's mental stress, which is like the psychological stress.
Hmm.
Um, there's stress, I guess, stress on the body due to PEDs and
Hmm.
whatnot,
Hmm.
but also a lot of other like medications being used besides PEDs, like
Agreed.
painkillers and stuff like that,
Uh,
which can impact the liver and potentially the kidneys.
Good
And
point.
some
Hmm.
people do take some of those things just to kind of ease off the pain,
Hmm.
which can increase overall liver enzymes and kidney issues.
Right.
Um, there it is. There's impact on gaining excessive amount of weight and excessive diet restriction, so
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
could cause more stress on the body before we even get to the PED. So like
Right.
that alone is already a lot of issues that
Hmm.
could potentially cause death or long-term
Hmm.
issues. And then when you get to like the PED section,
Hmm.
everything else just
Well,
intensifies by like
right.
two to three
Exactly.
folds.
Okay.
So that little extra cherry on the top can be what would impact someone's overall health long term
Right.
if they're using an insane amount of PEDs
Hmm.
plus stress, mental stress from the body, plus stress from using other medications outside of just performance enhancement themselves,
Hmm.
plus just gaining excessive weight, plus just dieting for an excessive period amount of time, getting
Time.
really peeled, shredded, and conditioned. And then the other stress is just as a top level competitor, you have
Hmm.
that stress from the audience where
Right.
you need to perform a certain way because this is what you do, or just your internal stress as a bodybuilder because
Hmm.
you feel like you need to live this certain lifestyle because it's what it takes to be a bodybuilder. So you may want to do some extreme stuff that are
Gotcha.
completely not needed. So there's a lot of factors that comes into like what would be the cause of someone's
Hmm.
organs kind of,
Failing.
crashing
Yeah.
out,
Gotcha.
uh,
Okay.
them kind of pulling out, and then the PEDs just overall intensify that by like two folds.
Right.
which which it's part of the thing, but like over the years you tend to realize that like weight training, going to
Mm-hmm.
the gym, training and having a good diet is perfectly healthy. You
Hundred
know,
percent.
it's
100%
perfectly
agreeable.
healthy. But when you
Undeniable.
add the performance enhancement in, now you have
Changes
to
the element.
use, yeah, you have to use weight training. You have
Mm-hmm.
to focus on the cardio aspect of it. You have to focus on eating properly to help mitigate the other potential side effects that are going to come
Exactly.
from the drugs. So
Mm-hmm.
the only thing that really you need to focus on is just get the basics down.
Right.
Focus on the cardio. Make sure you're eating pretty relatively healthy or in like
Mm-hmm.
whatever is best for you. Reduce overall stressors as much as you can. That's a little bit
Okay.
of a challenge. Don't gain excessive amount of weight or don't diet too hard or don't diet too frequently here and
Mm-hmm.
there. And then when you add the PEDs on top, if you can manage all those other things, you
Mm-hmm.
could potentially compete for a longer period amount of time, but you're
Agreed.
still going to get hammered towards the tail end, like 10, 15, 20
Agreed.
years from now. You know,
Makes sense.
as far for like PED uses, I like to be more of like a very moderate approach,
Okay.
where I personally don't like to do a lot
Right.
because as like an athlete in any different kind of fields where people are being competitive, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
basketball, football, track, people do have on seasons and off seasons.
Yes.
When you have an on season, that's when you're ready to gear up, you're ready to get everything to make sure you have like that perfect practice that you've been doing during the off
Mm-hmm.
season to kind of
Exactly.
manifest itself as you get closer to the show date of the competition or the contest prep. A
Right.
lot of sports have those. Bodybuilding has that,
Mm-hmm.
but the only issue with that is like people are consistently cycling pads over and over again,
Over
basically
and now
creating
taking a
this
break.
like long on season period
Right.
without resting. So
Mm-hmm.
for me, I like to think of like my off season as like, okay, I'm like cruising on this little amount of like maybe like 150 to 250 mgs of testosterone per
Mm-hmm.
week
Mm-hmm.
and just chill it there, just eat food, train, relax, reduce stressors.
Right.
And then when it's time to like get ready for competition, like
Get
that
ready to.
16-20 week out, then you ramp up what you need to ramp up. I mean, I think this year was probably the year where I went like a little bit more than I usually do. And I
Right.
was just like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't ever wanted to do this. It was just like
Mm.
kind of going in and out. But I was like,
Yeah.
I wanted to see what I can push. So I went a little bit more than I usually do.
Gotcha.
Um, but that's because it's like, okay, we're in the contest, right? This is for like 16 to 20 weeks. It's not like I'm
Mm-hmm.
running like multiple cycles here and there.
Exactly. Got your
So
point.
I do think there's a lot of things that impact bodybuilders in terms of like health
Mm-hmm.
outside of bodybuilding,
Right.
but the addition of PEDs and how much amount you use or how you balance that out based off like your on season or contest or how many frequent cycles you run
Mm-hmm.
does impact long term 15 to 20 years from now.
Gotcha. So my next question would be is, what would you say someone looking for a coach, or what do you look for in a coach, and what's your thoughts on these gurus? Oh, 1 second. Someone's 1 second. Okay, two
You're
seconds.
good. Mhm.
My cat was going nuts in the kitchen. Sorry about that.
You're good. No worries.
So my question was, leading to the point where we talk about PEDs, what would Paul look for in a coach, or what do you think about these terms, guru coaches and people jumping coaches right away? I'm not sure if you've been following the scene of people dropping coaches or after a show or whatnot. What's your take on that?
Um, I think my take on that is that certain people just want have a very high expectations of
Hmm.
where they need to be, and because their expectation is so high, they often may blame the coach for not performing
Mm,
how they should be. But then there's like other factors that in place. I'm just gonna call it how it is and just use Nick Walker as an example.
right.
So Nick Walker is a great athlete, great bodybuilder, you know,
Hmm.
great size. But like when you're compared to guys with great shape, structure, size, symmetry, proportions, like tight, small, tiny waist and really round, full muscle bellies with better shape
Hmm.
than you, 6 seems like a pretty good place to be. I would be happy in a way because those guys, they're just like the genetic elites that deserve to be there. Where Nick may
Hmm.
have like more muscle mass, but there's just that little bit of like freaky factor on his physique that just, yeah,
Doesn't
you're
match
freaky
up.
huge and big and you're awesome. But
Right.
like, look at Andrew Jack. You know
Well,
what I mean?
that will lead me to my next question. Phenomenal. Like the conditioning and the symmetry is totally different. Where aesthetically, that was more pleasing and more balanced, in my
Yeah.
opinion. So where
Yes.
you got 6 or 7, yeah, you probably could have
Like,
got 8, maybe.
if you lose to guys like that, you just have to realize like my genetic factors are what's limiting me from being where
Hmm.
I need to be. Because
Right.
all the other guys that placed a little bit higher than me, they have very great structures, very great muscle bellies, round, full, they're conditioned. They just look like somebody that you would want to be, you
Hmm.
know?
Hmm.
So him being unhappy with his overall placing, I can understand because sometimes people are a little bit delusional and they
Mm.
feel like they deserve to be at a certain level because of how hard they work. But there's certain limited factors where you just may not be able to overcome no matter how hard you try. And
Gotcha. Makes
then
sense.
when people don't realize or they see that, they think it's like, I could have been better, but the coach was holding me back. Or like, I could
Mm.
have been better, but like maybe I need to switch coach to kind of find a different approach to make
Right.
things work, et cetera, et
Hmm.
cetera. I think, but it's also like other people
Hmm.
saying things and putting things into
In
someone
his ear.
else's ears and
Right.
telling them like, your coach sucks. You could have probably done really better if you went with this coach, et cetera, et cetera. Which ironically enough, after the Olympia, someone
Mm.
actually did came up to me and did exactly just that.
Really.
Yeah. They were just like, yeah, man, your coach sucks. You should probably get a different top level coach. I'm like, dude, I I'm gonna be honest, I'm not here to win the Olympia.
Hmm.
I don't even think about winning the Olympia. I'm
Okay.
just here to just get better and
Right.
improve. And
Right.
oftentimes, if I'm given a calendar year, that's a long time to improve. And if
Agreed.
I'm staying with the same coach and I'm hitting all the boxes, just checking all the boxes
Why change?
consistently, you're going to improve
Yes.
regardless if you change coaches or not.
Hmm.
The difference between you changing to another coach is very minimal, but maybe the reason why like you switched over to like the different coach because you weren't happy with the result, but then there were certain things that the coach was telling you to do, but you weren't honestly doing it.
Right. Hmm.
And because you weren't honestly doing it because you had your own ego or a mindset that you
Yes.
think like it needs to
Hmm.
be done this way, it needs to be this way, and you didn't follow through. And then once things kind of like crash down, you start blaming it on
Hmm.
the coach, and you're like, I could
Hmm.
probably go to a different coach and try to do something
Right.
different.
Okay.
But it really doesn't. The difference is very minimal,
Hmm.
especially
Hmm.
when you're like a
Top.
top level bodybuilder,
Agreed.
bro.
Hmm.
You've been capped the out.
Out.
you
100%. That's it.
know?
And I think that's happened with him. That you've hit
Yeah,
that
like
potential.
there's
What
not
more do you
much you can
expect?
do except make like maybe a little difference here and there in terms of like
Right.
your overall structure or shape or gain a little bit more muscle, but
Hmm.
there's not much you can do. So oftentimes like switching to a different coach doesn't really do much other
Right.
than like people telling you that you should do this or you felt like you could have been a higher place in without realizing your own genetic limits and you
Hmm.
think like the other possibly coach could get you to that top tier spot, which it's not
Okay.
usually the case because if you were to just not have a coach, right?
Right.
If you're somebody who just don't have a coach and you just hit all the marks, check all the boxes without a coach, you're going to progress regardless.
100%.
So like the
Hmm.
coaches may kind of be able to oversee your progress and how you're progressing and kind of tell you like, hey man, don't be an idiot and go out of like your way to do something stupid. But like if you
Uh,
hold yourself fully accountable and you just check off all the boxes and see like last year I did this, and I did this, and this wrong. Let me
right.
fix this, and this for the next 365 days.
Gotcha.
365 days is a long
Long
period amount of time.
to
If you
improve.
just check off all the boxes, you
Hmm.
will progress with or without a coach.
Hmm.
But the coach helps oversee like you not doing dumb stuff.
Keeping the balance. And that's what I tell people all the time. A coach is important, and job is not only to just coach you, but keep you in that level-headed. Okay, this is where you're at. You don't want to cross those lines because when you're competing, your mind plays tricks on you at times where you might see things differently from someone else's perspective, and
Yeah.
someone knowledgeable can give you that level-headed. Like if you want to touch on this, I think your coach, The Wiz, I think he's a great coach. He's
Mm.
smart, but the difference between him and a lot of other coaches, he cares. He's passionate. That's from what I see. I had never spoken
Oh,
to
he
him,
is. He's
but
he's
I can see
very.
that from his post. So yeah,
Mm. Yeah, he's very caring when it comes to competing. He puts a lot of time and
I
effort
see that.
into just like looking at things, making sure the physique is where it needs to be. So like, I don't need any other coach or a different coach.
Hmm.
I know exactly what to do. I can prep myself if I want to,
Hmm.
but man, I cannot see what the hell I look like at 6 to 8 weeks out.
Well,
So I
that's
am
it.
not doing that.
Right, right, right. Okay. So that really juggled into my questions already. But we talked about the coaching and peak. You've answered that how your coaching decisions are very important the last couple of weeks because your mind plays tricks. Um, what do you think about these bodybuilding forums? About let's talk about Bob Chickarello's point of view, or I'm not sure if you heard about Steve judging in Prague and was being on the phone. I'm not sure if you followed that. What's your thoughts on that? Do you think that was appropriate time? We don't know. People have personal lives, so I can't
Mm.
say that it was wrong. But from the outside looking in, I don't think it was the right timing. But what's your thoughts on that?
I saw the Prague. Let's start with the Olympia.
Yeah.
Like, let's start with the main big kahuna
Yes.
of everything first. Um, I think competitors have to understand the Olympia is a business. You know, as much
Hmm.
as you like to think your hard work means anything, it does. It really
Hmm.
does. But so does having a business and being able to have people who will greatly influence or increase the overall net income of that business.
Agreed.
And because of that, that's why you only maybe sometimes only see the top 10, 15 competitors
Hmm.
have a huge amount of following. They're
True.
sponsored heavily by a lot of very big name companies.
Hmm.
They do promote certain amount of contents to help drive more people into the fitness space, which
Agreed.
increases the overall Olympia income because now you're motivating people to train. And they
Hmm.
probably do see that. They
Yes.
probably do see that you're motivating people, and that's more overall net income to them. Um, you also um carry yourself in a certain way. Like that makes a big difference.
Hmm.
Not that many people tend to think about that. Like when you carry yourself in a certain way, that kind of says that you're a great ambassador for the
Of
sport.
course.
That will
Definitely
show in
plays a
what you
role.
do. So, like when you look at like the top three, this is just my speculation when it
Hmm.
comes to this year's Olympia, especially in classic. When you look at the top three for classic physique,
Okay.
my speculation, what
Hmm.
um, I think if the height thing wasn't an issue, Mike Summerfield would have won.
I'm glad you
Um,
touched upon that. I agree 1,000%.
Mike had was pretty lean. He
Hmm.
actually looked more classic at a
Hmm.
lesser weight than trying to look a 212. Because if you know how carbon up works, essentially, let's
Hmm.
say Mike's height is like, let's say it's like whatever they measured him at, like five
Hmm.
eight or 5'9" or whatever,
Right.
and
Right.
he has to come in at like 204. Okay, he'll probably load up to potentially, possibly like 212, maybe
Hmm.
like 210, 212. But if Mike were to be heighted at like over 5'9", his weight cap would be 212.
12
But if you load that guy up, he goes up to 220, 225 because he was
on
sucking
stage.
down pretty hard.
Right.
So that's why
Exactly.
when you look at Mike Summerfield's quads and overall body for the Olympia, it's a little bit more downsized because he's not like 20
Carrying that
pounds more
weight.
than he should be.
Exactly. Hmm.
You know what I
Agreed.
mean? So like that height thing made a huge difference, but also the controversy
I think
surrounding
that. Yeah.
that wouldn't be something that the IFBB or the Olympia would want to have when there's somebody who potentially did something in previous years
Hmm.
and then now serve that person as the winner for 2025.
Hmm.
So that kind of puts you at second place.
Right.
Um,
Okay.
and then the next person that could potentially be there, because if you think about like how they carry themselves, they have
Hmm.
no prior controversy. They're they're trying really hard to learn English. They're trying
Yes.
to get better at
Agree.
the sport. They have a very tremendous story to tell in terms of overall background. The
Yes.
business portion of it, they've been there for quite a while, top
Hmm.
two, top
Hmm.
three for quite a long period amount of time.
You
They
know.
drive a lot of businesses in Brazil.
Yes. Mm, a lot is
Brazil.
true. Hmm.
And then they just have this personality about them where they're just like a really interesting individual that you want to look like.
Hmm.
So if I were like a businessman and I wanted to like promote my sport, I
Okay.
wouldn't have somebody that has a lot of controversy in what they do and also how they portray people
Makes
when it
sense. Of
comes to their
course.
interaction with other individuals and how they treat others and how most people may look at that person. Because like if you're going to give somebody that much like recognition from winning
Hmm.
first place, that wouldn't look good. That would create a lot of speculation on the Olympia itself.
Hmm.
But Ramon, on the other hand, pretty much a solid fit. I mean, in my opinion, I think Mike looked really good. Mike
Right.
kind of covered a lot of the body parts, everything. Most poses, I think Mike won most poses,
Yeah, I would say
but
that. Hmm.
Ramon is just a better brand ambassador.
Good point. Good point.
So there's
Hmm.
a heavy amount of like,
Okay.
I wouldn't say politics,
Mhm.
it's business.
No, agreed. So on that note, like if I'm correct me, I could be wrong. So they heighted and weighed in everyone this Olympia. So that weight now at the Olympia, is that height and weight going to carry you for until the next Olympia? Are you going to
Yeah,
wait
but I won't
again?
be competing. So probably, yeah, the
Okay.
height that they weigh you for 2025 at the Olympia
Yeah.
is the one you're going to be with for the entire year until the next Olympia.
Oh, so if you were to do a show in 2026, that would be your okay.
Yep, that'll be your height. So
Okay.
you can't end up magically being 5'9".
Gotcha. Okay. Well, you know what you last question, two more questions I have basically is
Yeah.
what do you would say is the dark side or the hard truth about bodybuilding? What coaching outsiders don't see that we in the circle of bodybuilders see in regards to our inner circle? Do you think it is that much different or is it a different world?
I think the mental struggle. I think a lot of competitive bodybuilder put a lot of mental stress,
Okay.
psychological stress on themselves,
Okay.
whether it's to perform, to do this, to do that, take this, do this and that, or whether it's just to please the audience or just for themselves. They just want to push harder and harder.
Hmm.
That sometimes it kind of messes up with their overall health and quality of life
Hmm.
because one, you already don't feel like you're good enough. So
Right.
you're always
Right.
going to try to like push to get better and better, but then like you have audience from like outside perspective wanting you to look or be a certain way, and
Hmm.
you give into that audience because you feel like as a bodybuilder you have to uphold a certain amount of status that
Hmm.
everyone looks up to, and you have to create this image that doesn't it's not like necessarily really there, but
Okay.
because we have like social media, everyone will look at some pros and they'll just look like, yeah, this guy has like the perfect life. But
Hmm.
there's like the mental struggle, there's like the relationship struggle, there's like the struggle from the gear use, there's struggle
Hmm.
from just like everything else that's surrounding you,
Right.
that many people who are looking from the outside don't necessarily think about that because they just look at the final product, which is like, that guy's
Gotcha.
a bodybuilder. He's big, he's jacked, he looks
That's it.
crazy.
Yeah.
I want to look like that.
Hmm.
And oftentimes when people don't see that, they don't acknowledge that, it gives them a false perception of what it's like to truly be a bodybuilder, which is
Right.
like, you just have to lift weights, eat, train, and do all that stuff. Maybe push yourself mentally really, really
Hmm.
hard. But there's just goes so much stuff that just many people choose not to show because they want to have that a strong body means a strong mind kind of thing.
Exactly. Hmm.
And it just drives a lot of people down to the wall.
All right. Um, share something with the fitness world or people out there looking in right now. Something about Paul that we wouldn't expect or we know anything about Paul. What would you care to share?
Um, I don't think there is anything really. Um, I mean, everything I do or say or like am is literally on social media. If you're,
Gotcha.
it's like someone's like paying attention. You know
And
what I
and
mean?
that leads into my next question. if someone wanted to work with Paul, how can we find Paul? Where can we find Paul's coaching? As we know, you're a great competitor and a great coach. How can we find you? Share
Yeah,
your
so
platform.
if you're looking to kind of work with me or just get a little bit more information about me, you can go to Can You Lift. It's my website. There I have a brief history of like who I am, what I do, a bunch of my clients and everything. And then if you choose to work with me, there's a link where you can. If you're looking for more of like an interpersonal perspective of who I am, mainly Instagram will be it because I do
Okay.
post quite a good amount of like what I do, what it's like to be me, being a bodybuilder, how I do certain things. My stories are mainly filled of just me going through my day-to-day events and then people
Okay.
kind of like seeing how that is. So that's why I was like, a lot of the things that I do in terms of bodybuilding, it's not like I don't have like a big camera crew follow me to show like, oh, I have to
Hmm.
edit all this stuff out.
Okay.
Like it's just like very genuine. And
Right.
they're all on Instagram. So you can also follow me at like Can You Lift on Instagram. It has everything there. So I just wanted to show that like, yes, I compete, but I'm just like a regular person, just like you. Just maybe a really good set of genetics.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, Paul, once again, thank you for taking the time. I know you're very busy, and once again, congrats on the little one. I know
Mhm.
he's getting bigger, so
Yeah, it was a little crazy.
yeah, keep doing what you're doing, and like I said, once again, I really appreciate it. So, Fitness World, once again, we have Paul Canoe, 2025 Mr. Olympian, where you can find him. Canoe Lift on Instagram.
Yep.
You want the inside scoop, someone who's real and passionate. This is the guy to follow. This is the guy to see. Once again, thank you, Fitness World. And remember, R2 is the mindset.
All right. Thanks, man. You have a
Thank
good
you.
one.
Take care, Paul. Talk to you soon.
What? Likewise.